Good morning. Thank you for auditing Professor Sky's Record Review, the always positive new music review show hosted by a French professor who's doing a little different video this morning. As you can tell, I'm not in my usual clothes. I'm in my bathrobe. If you recognize what this bathrobe is an authentic replication of, please put it in the comments. I have coffee cups on my bathrobe. I have dogs on my coffee cup. I have my fancy microphone here, and I'm going to be talking to you today about what I believe to be the song of the century. I'm going to explain what I mean. I'm being a little bit self-indulgent right now, and I'll sort of tell you why. Now, this is the thing. I'm going to be doing this video the way that I do every once in a while, which is I'm going to be showing you a PowerPoint that I made. So I'm going to do the share screen here. I'm actually recording this. I'm recording this on Zoom as opposed to just on my iPhone. So here's the song of the century, right? Let me just kind of put myself up there in a place where I can delete myself. There we go. So I'm talking about the song of the century. I'm talking about the song of the century by Rebecca Black and her collaborators. And the reason that I'm doing this is because it is, in fact, my 10,000 subscriber special. I never really thought I would get to, I'm being honest here. I never really thought I'd get to 100 subscribers. I just thought that my brand of whateverness wouldn't really be there. I never pictured myself in the basement of the Yellow Submarine in my bathrobe, getting to talk about Rebecca Black and having it matter. But here I am. So why don't you kind of buckle in? You might enjoy this episode. You might not. Do please let me know, like, if this kind of different format is good. I know consistency is very important for the YouTube algorithm, but I just want to talk about this song, and I want to talk about why I think it's so important. So this is the thing. I'm going to be calling this the song of the century. And what's interesting is that I'm inspired to do this because I teach a class, okay? I teach a class on rock and hip hop in France, all right? And when you teach a class on rock and hip hop in France, you first have to get buy-in from the students. Like, okay, it's fun to listen to music, but why do it? And so what I have to do is I have to kind of introduce them to the concept and really drive home the concept of the importance of the zeitgeist, right? The zeitgeist meaning the spirit of the times. And the phrase that I use over and over and over again is that music reflects life. That's what I tell them. I explain music reflects life, and that life itself, by that I mean society and values and sexuality and everything. So I do this kind of fun little game with them where I ask them to talk about the 2010s, this decade that just left, the decade that they lived through. All my students are in their early 20s, late teens. And I ask them, like, how could we actually define the zeitgeist? And by the way, these beginning slides here are the exact slides that I show to my class on the first day. Okay. I use Rebecca Black, as you will see in my first day of class. So I sort of say, like, what would we do here? Right. I have a kind of cheesy, I'm going to move myself over there. I have kind of a cheesy PowerPoint here where I have an alien show up and say, if an alien said, take me to your zeitgeist, what would you say to them? Okay. And so I kind of have fun with it. And I say, well, what if we went to, like, the most serious publication about music of the 2010s, the most kind of intellectually aspiring and filled with gravitas. Let's think about what Pitchfork might say. Okay. I don't know if they actually declared a song of the century, but of the decade, but I think if they did, it would probably be something by Bon Iver. Or Bon Iver. So I show them the video to the song Holocene, which has this little kid running through these glaciers, and the music's playing, and it's all just very Bon Ivory and very warm and textured and layered. And I ask my students, is this what reflects the zeitgeist of the 2010s? You grew up. If we go back to you in high school in 2016 and we were to play this, would you say this is your life? What does this song reflect? It's contemplative. It's filled with artistic integrity. It's full of harmony. Does this sound like America in the 2010s? Of course, everyone kind of laughs. And most of all, this entire video makes you feel like you're in the middle of nature and that you're one with nature. And also maybe in a J. Crew catalog. That always gets a laugh. I don't know if you laughed. That's fine. So what I then ask is, do you want to know the real zeitgeist of the 2010s? And I show this picture when I used to put an orange in my mouth to make my kids laugh. I would play guitar and go, sort of a country singer who had an orange in his mouth. It was a whole character that I used to play. It was kind of funny. So I asked them, do you want to know the true zeitgeist of the 2010s? Look at my hair then too, huh? I had like hippie hair. I had the whole thing. I asked them, do you want to know the true zeitgeist of the 2010s? And they say yes. And I say, you will pay for your curiosity. And then here comes the big punchline, everybody. What do I use as a punchline for what is a symbol of bad music and what is a symbol of the true nature of the United States? Rebecca Black. Okay. Much like everyone else in the world, I would use Rebecca Black as a punchline for reasons which are somewhat intentional, but I'll get into that in the future. I then do what I call a table talk, okay, where I get my students all together and I say, what does Friday tell us about America? If we are to accept your professor's belief that this is how you talk about America, this is the song that best represents this decade of our lives, how is that? And so, I wait and I give them some time that I'm not going to give you because this is a YouTube channel, not a class. And then I come back and I do this whole map of America. I'm going to disappear again and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Am I like weirdly like ASMR this morning? Oh, yes. I hope not. So we're going to tell the alien how she reflects the society in the 2010s. This is all the things that I came up with, right? Part of what makes Friday such a perfect example is it shows the banality of pop, how silly it is, how ridiculous and without substance it is. Maybe that's what this proves. Maybe it proves the democratization of production. She came out of nowhere. I think her family funded this whole thing. And it used to be there was all these gatekeepers to who got to make music or who got to critique music. But now all those gatekeepers are gone and it's democratized. Well, that's a more positive thing that it's showing, I think, isn't it? The importance of social media and YouTube. Obviously, this whole song is linked and its importance is linked to that. It's not the song that's important as much as it is the reaction to the song. Of course, there's the hip hop bit in the middle. I would say this also shows the appropriation of Black art that occurs at all times through all American culture since World War II and before. The virality of the song is essential to understand. That is something that did not used to happen, at least not on this scale. The exploitation and mockery of young women. I also think this song shows that. And this is where I challenge the class and make fun of myself for using her as a punchline and question, should we really be making fun of a 13-year-old girl for some song that she's making just because we found it? I think the song also shows a lot of postmodernism in the way that people appreciate it. And I'm going to be explaining that more in a second, and especially this rise of snark, the snark that dominates our society where people like to look down on things in order to make fun of them. But most of all, and this is the most important part of my entire explanation of how this represents the 2010s, it is this concept of ambiguity. Friday by Rebecca Black is a bad song. Is it? Is it really a bad song? Do you not sing the song? Is it not catchy? Does it not have some power to both move you? Does not have some power to repel you in a very interesting way? Does everybody who laughs at Friday actually secretly like Friday? How much are we really laughing at it? And how much of it are we laughing at ourselves for liking it on some level? All of this complexity is happening here with this one song. And that is why I believe it represents us of the last century, of the last decade, which then brings us to this new version, right? I'm going to keep moving myself around here. I feel like here's a story of a lonely professor who's sitting in his basement talking to no one. Okay, that I really regret that. I can't edit this, but that was a bad joke. All right, so we're here with the Friday remix. Okay, now first of all, let's just kind of lay down the basic concept of what is this remix, right? So it's a remix that is a 10-year anniversary remix. This is going to play into why I think it's such an important song. It's a remix with Dorian Electra, who I reviewed before. I really enjoyed Dorian Electra's music. So if you want to see my review of their last album, you can look up there. Up there. I'll put it here with Big Fredia and 303. Okay, so the most important thing, though, I would say, is that it's with 100 gecs, that it's produced by, well, okay, it's not actually produced by both of the 100 gecs. It's produced by one of the 100 gecs. So it's produced by The 50 gex. I'm very happy with that joke. Dylan Brady, and he produces it. And I would say this is a great example of why we can say this is the zeitgeist of right now, at least, is this gexing. That's a term that I don't know if it exists already, but I'm creating it. Everything is getting gexed. Everything is getting into this hyperpop mode where everything becomes fractured, intentionally annoying, aggravating, catchy, industrial, chopped up, edgy, complete attention deficit disorder music, just grinding and grating, and yet somehow also pop. These two, I would say, are sort of the face of what is happening to pop music. And this song is doing an amazing job of integrating that with Rebecca Black and her song of the last of 10 years ago. So the change between these songs is what I want to focus on now. So we have, Rebecca Black, and we have Rebecca Black now. I'm not going to spend any time talking about the change in her look and the nails and the hair and that whole thing. I don't think that's what's really important. What I want to do is kind of add to my little map here. Okay, so I'm going to disappear again. Goodbye. And we're going to go to my map. So what is it that this shows about the 2020s? And I think by the fact that this song can still maintain so much of that same thing that we were talking about, everything that was true before about the 2010 map applies to this remix. In particular, the importance of social media, ambiguity, and virality. But what else can we add thanks to this amazing, interesting, aggravating remix? First of all, of course, we have to remake everything. Remake everything. Everything is an IP. Nothing is new. You cannot make new music, new movies, new books, new anything. We are completely trapped in this mode, and we've been trapped in this mode and getting increasingly trapped in this mode for the past 20 years. Part of the reason this is, I believe, the song of the century. But of course, what's interesting is while it's remaking it, it's sort of glorifying the banality of the pop. It's sort of glorifying how silly the original song is. And in that way, it is decontextualizing and recontextualizing. This is all tied into the concept of everything having to be remade. Okay. Even the Beatles, okay, are re-releasing their albums edited differently, mixed different, not edited differently, but mixed differently. Like even the most acclaimed rock and roll band, who we all know their songs backwards and forwards, is recontextualizing their own music because we have reached this point in culture where for some reason we can't start fresh. And this is where I would argue it's not that we can't make anything new. It's that what we make has to be new in a different way. I'd say this is a further extension of what's been happening with sampling, a lot of the influence of hip hop. Like, where are we really in our culture when it comes to new things, completely new things? I think it's a short-sighted old person's view that nothing is new. Everything's just a reboot, remaster, redo. I would say that you have to challenge yourself to see the new in the old, because it is probably more interesting than just dismissing it as everything has to be remade. I think also the collaboration culture, which dominates music now, everybody has to collaborate with everybody. The most popular group has to collaborate with people who bring them some kind of artistic cachet, and the artsy people have to collaborate with pop groups, and everyone has to collaborate with hip hop artists and techno producers and everything. We're in this soup. There's one thing this song proves: it is the soup of the 2020s, which is the apex of the soup of the 2000s. Everything is just mixed together. I'd say also there's a contemplation of misogyny. I'd say there's a contemplation of the way that she was treated in the past implied in this song. I think that's interesting. I also think that the fact that most, if not all, I don't know all the personal details of the guests here, are part of the LGBTQIA community, and I think that's really taken a rise. It's been on a steady rise, fortunately, since the 90s. The sort of visibility and acceptance of non-cis heterosexuality, but we're really reaching a point now where it's getting sort of completely woven into our fabric. And I think this song can kind of be shown that it's becoming less and less shocking. And when it becomes less and less shocking, that's when it becomes more and more equal. And I think that's where we're headed. And I think this song is showing that. Also, just rap domination. I mean, there is a rap verse on here. I would just say if there's one thing that this century has proven is that rap is the most dominant art form that's probably ever been created. I don't think hip hop, I don't think any cultural force has ever had such a singular impact on the entire world in so many different domains as hip hop. You can come at me, rock fans, but I'm pretty sure that's going to be proven here. And I think this song even shows that as well. Most importantly, we have the genre bending. Okay. This is a French teacher joke because genre is also how you say gender in French, because there is some gender, a lot of questions of gender in here as well. Could you please tell me in the comments, what is Professor Payne's worst joke of the video? I'm going to vote for Brady Bunch. That was a really bad joke. But the genre bending, the mixture of the hyper pop, and at times it almost sounds like jungle, and at times it almost sounds like straight techno. At times it sounds like everything just gets mixed up, and that is where we are right now. We are in a post-genre era, and we are probably entering a post-genre era in both ways. Okay. And then finally, we have this hyperpop as postmodernism. Postmodernism, meaning a sort of form of art that is aware of itself, that comments on itself while also being itself, that is very meta aware and has a sort of intellectual important, like the intellect is often put ahead of the sentiment. The head is a little bit put over the heart. And hyperpop, I think, is a great example of where our culture is in its state of postmodernism. I think our culture, probably since Magritte or something, I don't know, for a long time, we've been stuck in postmodernism and we're never getting out. I think the same way that rap and hip hop dominate so clearly, I think postmodernism dominates everything that we've done. And we're just going to see an increasingly postmodern era. And we're reaching these points where we arrive at things which must be the end. We must reach the apex of postmodernism. And I think hyperpop as a genre might be it, with its mixing of genres and its intentional, insane aggravation. If I had to define hyperpop as anything, I would define it as pop that aggravates, that is intentionally aggravating. The question I always ask is, do people dance to that? It's my old man question. Do people really dance to this? Is this a thing? Do you really like it? And God bless you, or science bless you, I don't care. Whoever it is that comes in on my Dorian Electra videos and Arca videos, and it's just like, yes, I dance to this every day on the way to work. I dance to this everywhere. This is my soundtrack. This is what I like. This is not something I just listen to and go, that's fascinating. I move to it. It moves me. But definitely, the main thing here is that it's aggravating. And why is this beautiful for the song Friday 2020? Why is this perfect for the song Friday? Because part of what made Friday so amazing is that it was so annoying. Her voice was so tinny. Gotta get to the bus stop, gotta get to the what changed like me, right? Like there's something about it that was so annoying and so aggravating. And that's what helped to make it so viral, beyond the fact that the American culture likes to put down young women whenever they can. They'll take any opportunity to take a young woman and crush them, whether they're famous or not, which is the dark side of the Friday phenomenon, obviously, which is part of the beauty of this song, her taking it back and somehow finding agency in this whole Friday story. Another reason why this is the song of the century, okay? Because there's a story arc to it. But here we have this perfect hyperpop version, which takes that which is annoying and gexes it, just totally gexes it. So that's all gexed up and it's beautifully aggravating. Let me get into the song a little bit more, okay? If you haven't watched the song, go watch it. I mean, has like 1,000 million views or something. So I'm sure that you've already seen it if you're watching this video. I'm going to be including just still images from the video in the background. The video is quite enjoyable as well. Okay. So let's kind of go through this, right? The annoying voice is the main thing that is gexed up. By the way, that's how you pronounce gexed up. That's how you spell it. I decided Gexed. So I think that's the way you should do it. The voice that was already annoying and already like too high is pitched up It's exaggerated. Much like hyperpop takes all of the tropes of pop and just exaggerates them, this does it even more. That's the thing. So much about what makes Gex interesting is that they are the logical conclusion of so many aggravating ideas, of so many of auto tuning, of like of overly controlled rhythms, of very infectious loops. Like they are sort of destroying the thing that they're commenting upon. Postmodernism at its best. Song of the century. The bass is absolutely blasted, which is nice. It makes it easier to dance to. The song is dissected and reconstructed. And I think you have to know the original song to enjoy this. I don't think you can just listen to this on its own. I think you have to hear it as a comment. I think it is doing that postmodern thing where it is commenting upon while also being the thing, right? I mean, if all of these remakes are to mean anything to us, you know, cinematically, that's what these are. They're dissected and reconstructed, right? I'm not saying this is like Force Awakens, but I am saying it's like Force Awakens. It is a little bit like that, where it's a reboot, but it does all these things, but in a new way that comments on it while also trying to be something new. The way that the words fun are used and partying, the inanity of the original, I'm just saying fun, 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 partying, partying, yeah. Like this is taken and recontextualized and moved to the point where it's abstracted, to the point where it's making fun of her saying fun while also her saying fun. It's this totally like disembodied fun, 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 just this word, which by the way, the word fun is a very English word. They use the word fun in French now, like the word fun in English. But it used to be that the only way to say fun in French was divertissement, which means diversion, because you're trying to stop thinking about dying for a second. That's true. That's why the word fun is a very English word. It's the idea of fun for fun's sake and partying, and just the way that it's gexed up is just perfect to have this sound, that the feeling that you had in 2011 when this song came out and you heard the fun, fun, fun and partying, and you were a little bit ambiguous about whether or not you liked it or didn't, whether or not you want to admit it to yourself. Here, it's just being thrown back at you like through a wood chipper. You're just like covered in just like human viscera of just fun, 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 partying, partying. I think this is fun. I believe there's an amen break. So that's the drum beat that's used in jungle music, taken from the song Amen. So that's kind of like thrown in there as well, which emphasizes the fact that the rhythm never sets in the song. There's never a point where you can just like relax. Like you can't dance to the song in the same way all the way through. You are constantly switching up. It's that ADD stuff. You know, just everything's just moving around. It never sets. The rhythm never sets. The song never sets. Nothing really stays where it is. God damn it. They are so good. The Gex are so good. They really, really are. And it's funny because I talk about this a lot, that my son and his friends like the 100 Gex. The 100 Gex. Jesus, I sound like a father. They like the 100 Gex because at first they didn't. Like at first they made fun of them and thought they were bad, and then they turned out to like them. I like to call that ambiguity. I like to call that exactly what happened with Rebecca Black, except 10 years ago, we had to just stay in the snark mode. We could never admit that we liked it. Now we admit that we like it. Just Dorian Electra is awesome on this. That's my comment. I'm a YouTuber, 10,000 subscribers, and I talk about music criticism while wearing a bathrobe. Yes, that is my entire criticism. That's my entire take. They are just awesome on this song. It is just absolutely great. They're only on there for a couple seconds, but they add so much with their voice and the way that it plays with Rebecca Black. And also, Dorian Electra is the reason that Rebecca Black, or at least part of the reason, is having this resurgence, because Rebecca Black was on their album of last year. And one thing Dorian Electra does really well is having Rebecca Black and having the YMCA. They really know how to find people who have been forgotten and perhaps mistreated by popular culture and force us to recontextualize them and understand them in a better way. Dorian Electra is doing more than making good music. They are legitimately changing our relationship to music in the past by forcing us to reconsider it again. I am really excited to see what else Dorian Electra does next. Um, and then we have Big Fredia. And Big Fredia is pretty interesting here as well, because the rap break on the original song, it was just some anonymous rapper, basically, just anybody who, I think the song was produced by Rebecca Black's father, or like they found a producer. It was just some sort of like, Daddy, I want to make music thing. I think that's what it was. I don't know. That's what I remember from 11 years ago. If I'm wrong, please put it in the comments. I'm not sticking with that story. But it's nice because instead of having kind of a random person doing this, we have Big Fredia, who's kind of a larger than life figure, both in hip hop and in the LGBTQIA community. And what I think is interesting is that it's intentionally a stupid rap verse, I believe. Like, F-R-I-D-A-Y. I mean, F-R-I-D-A-Y, like singing out all the letters and spelling it out. And I think I wrote down the line here, make it clap like you're grateful. I assume that means your booty, make your booty clap like you're grateful. I think that's intentionally just to make it a great club song. Big Fredia is a very kind of consciously constructing a verse here, which I think is going along with the spirit of the original song of kind of stupid and kind of aggravating, but something that makes you dance. I will say that this is my least favorite part, the kind of slow down, breakdown part with 303. Reminds me a little bit of some of Kanye's production, where you'll have kind of a slow down part and things get a little bit extended. It's nice to have a little bit of a break, I guess, but I guess I don't have really any connection to 303. I don't know if I've never reviewed their music. I don't know anything about them. Feel free to tell me if there's something great about them I should know. But it's kind of the weakest part to me, just because it's too calm. I like the agitation of the rest of it. And then finally, we're going to end with the fact that this is no one's song. This isn't really Dylan Brady's song. This isn't really Rebecca Black's song. It isn't really Big Fredia's song. It isn't Dorian Electra's song. It's sort of no one's song. Like, at no point, it feels like everybody's collaborating with everybody. It feels so fractured. And if this could be the song of the century, and by the way, to make it clear, this is like the way Time magazine gives out person of the year to the most important person, not to the best person. I'm not saying this is the best song of the century. I'm saying this is the song of the century. This is what explains us, at least up until now, as what our culture is and what it is producing. Okay, just to make that clear. It's probably not in my top 100 of favorite songs this century, but it does explain a lot. It is the zeitgeist, and it is partly in this fractured nature. The real question is authenticity. Is she a real hyper pop star? Is Rebecca Black really this, with the crazy hair and the nails or is she just jumping on another trend? Is she just doing the same thing that she tried to do 10 years ago and accidentally succeeded, becoming a star, hopping on trends of being a pop star? Or is it just an act? What is it? Is it just an act? Is it the real thing? Here's a fun thing. You're never going to guess how I'm going to answer this question. It does not matter. Actually, it does. No, it doesn't. Authenticity is another casualty of the 21st century. It sort of doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't. It doesn't really matter. This is a product, and the artistic integrity of the people who are making it is immaterial. And that's part of what makes it so much of this time. I will sort of close here by saying this is my favorite image from the video. The image of the cereal being poured onto the laptop, showing the original version of the song. I love this because the cereal is one of the goofiest parts of the original song, talking about eating cereal. And it's also kind of like a consumer product, and seeing this, consumer product of the computer and then the YouTube video and this kind of like weird mixture. I could sort of add that into another part of what makes this very 21st century. Is it's also partly a comment on consumer culture, which is the culture that dominates us more than almost anything. And just, I love this image, this kind of aggravating image. I think this is the entire video, the entire song put into one image, just taking the original and just throwing cereal on top of it. Okay, let's go to new share. How do I, wait, how do I stop share? Okay, I'm gonna stop the share. Good. All right, so there it is. Song of the century, my vote, this amazing collaboration with Rebecca Black. Thank you all so much for subscribing and potentially unsubscribing for this video. I'm very happy to be doing this. Let me know if you'd like me to do more like this or not. This, by the way, this is a sheet. This is not a backdrop. Original 70s sheet that my parents used in the 70s. So I don't know. I thought that was a cool Zoom background. This is what my students see when I teach. They see that in the background. I might be starting up a Patreon, but it'll be a different kind of Patreon. I'll talk about that later, in which I only take money to buy music. So it's kind of like a supporting arts thing. We'll see if that works out. I can't tell if I want to deal with it. Okay. Well, until next time. Oh crap! Where's the camera? It's there. There's the camera. Yes, I'm all right. There's the camera.